The following episode of Humble and Fred Radio is brought to you by FYI Music News, The Retirement Sherpa, Gig Sky, The Chambers Plan, Strain Print, Freedom Construction, Ringside MD, Clear Air Solutions, CDM Technologies, and 5 Hour Energy. If you'd like to talk to Humble and Fred, call 1-833-437-8465. That's 1-833-HF-STINK. And now from the worldwide headquarters of the Humble and Fred Show, here are Humble and Fred.
That's how it works. You know, you go away and then you come back. Do you know that, Phil? Are you aware of that? Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Does it sound nice, Phil?
Very nice.
Yes, welcome back, welcome back. It was nice to come out this morning and it'd be a balmy 8 degrees. You know, listen, we were in Florida last week, and not to rub it in anybody's noses, but when you come back, you think I'm coming back to the cold. But when we slid out this morning, it was a balmy 8 degrees. It felt so good, so good. Although it's going to get a little colder this week.
Very true.
You know, what I shouldn't be doing is giving the weather forecast when Dan Duran will be on in a few minutes, right,
Yeah,
Howie?
it's like overkill, man.
Overkill, but I got to say, it was a nice start to being back.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to get right into something I said to Phyllis this morning. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm Howard. That's Fred. You figure it out, okay? You know, our number is 1-833-437-8465. If you want to call us, you know, we're open for business. The day I left Florida last Thursday, I was contemplating. I was saying to Phil, I said, I kind of get, you know, I'm not a really huge fan of America these days. I haven't been for the last couple of years, not just because of Trump, but over time, my infatuation with the country has waned. I'll just say that. But that being said, on the day I left, I was walking on the little pier right across from our hotel in Deerfield Beach, and it was about 25 degrees, and it was going to be 25 degrees the next day. I just kind of said to Phil, I said, at that moment, I get it. I get what they're up to down there. They just avoid winter. And you put up with all the other things to avoid winter.
While I was down there, I came up with this profound statement to the two gentlemen I was traveling with. Same thing. I'm walking down Clearwater Beach. Well, actually, Indian Rocks Beach, barefoot. A lovely day. We could go Sunday, 78, 79 degrees. And I turned to them and I said, Howard, too bad America is wasted on Americans.
Very true.
There you go.
My point being, let me be fair, was that why don't we, and you know, Turks and Caicos always come up, but believe me, Canada would have screwed that up. It's just too bad that Canada didn't have a place like that. Why do they get it? You know what I mean? Like, just think about that. When it comes to health care, retirement, and the dollar, that nothing changes for them if they live in a cold part of the United States and move to the south. Well, it's much more complicated.
That's true.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a great, you basically summed up what I'm saying. It's too bad this Deerfield Beach environment is wasted on these, you know, chubby, stupid people. You know, and it just is. They're just walking around. It's like a bunch of people. It's like manatees in shorts. It's just dragging their fat selves around in the warmth.
The place we stayed was it was north of Tarpon Springs, called Holiday, and we thought, you know, we're going away in February, so we'll keep the budget down. Little golf holiday. So I found this bungalow, and it was like a renovated bungalow in a neighborhood in Holiday, Florida, and it looked pretty good. So we drive up to the thing, right? And yes, it was renovated. And the guy had done the front of the house. It looked nice. It was all the other houses around it. Like, unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
What is with them parking? Even houses with no cars in the driveway have cars parked on the lawn. What is that all about? I mean, you see that the odd time up here.
Yeah.
But my buddy Doug was saying maybe it's some bylaw or something. You're only allowed so many cars on a driveway. How do you explain that? There's no car in the driveway, but there's one or two on the lawn. And there's a lot where the driveway's full, and then there's parked on the lawn.
Yeah.
But anyway, we get into this place and it's renovated, and I walk out back. The first thing I see is like a mat by the pool. Yes, there was a pool, although the heater didn't work. And it said Trump 2020.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
First thing
Welcome home, Freddie. That's
Trump
great.
2020, like the foot before you went into the house.
The welcome mat.
Yeah.
That's the best. I was in an area, as I said, Deerfield Beach is where I was, and we were staying in an Embassy Suites, big time. Fancy club link trip, And one afternoon, we finished early. I dropped the guys back off at the hotel, and then I went to another part about a half an hour away to hit balls. And where I was, where we were staying was sort of anything on the beach is a bit upscale. It is. But when you get away from the beach, and I went into a neighborhood, I couldn't describe where it was, but it was well away from the fancy area where I found this little neighborhood driving range. And as I was driving into it, I was like, oh, so this is where like the regular people, the everyday people, the common folk live. And, it's not the greatest down there for a lot of people. It isn't.
Well, as I said, you get off the beaches down there. It's like being in Scarborough without weather. Or without
With
winter.
nice weather. Exactly.
Without winter.
That's exactly what the neighborhood I was in looked like. Just typical, lower end neighborhood. And then there was this range in the middle of it.
Uh-huh. And believe me, I said Scarborough. I grew up there, and I could have said certain parts of Etobicoke or Brampton. You know what I mean?
North York,
strip malls, and yeah. So, yeah, it's an interesting place. It is, but I'll tell you, and it's an age thing too. Because there's moments I'm just sitting there not being cold thinking, yeah, I get it. I see why people come down here all winter. I mean, yeah, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. But I think you think the older you get, the more you think about that. Because you just have less tolerance for this.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why I started it. The afternoon we left, I'm struck by a couple thoughts every year. Like you went down on the Friday.
Yes.
The day after our last show a couple weeks ago. So you went down on the Friday, and you stayed till yesterday. So you had sort of like almost 8 days down there.
9 nights.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't leave until Saturday afternoon, and I got back Thursday night. And for a few dollars more, I could have stayed an extra day or two. I mean,
you could have driven across state and stayed with us.
Yeah. The point I'm making is, 5 days down there, it was great and everything, but, I'm back here before you know it, and but that's what the day I was leaving, I was thinking that. I was thinking, well, tomorrow, I'm going to be involved in, minus whatever, and these people are going to be walking around, eating their giant, their giant food.
Hoagies and subs.
Yeah.
Covered in cheese.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the grocery stores, whatever you pay in Canadian up here, you pay in American down there. There's no deals in those grocery stores. I'm telling you.
No.
I don't know what's happened to the price of food down there, but it's the same in American as it is in Canadian here. Maybe fast food and some of that stuff's different. Beer's cheaper, smokes are cheaper. And restaurants, forget restaurants. If anything, they seem to be like more.
No, my experience was, I didn't go grocery shopping, but I'll tell you, the restaurants that we ate in, they were like sports bars. Like I didn't have any fancy dinners. And in fact, one night I ate inside the hotel. I just couldn't have any more, giant food. But one place we went to, like their food prices were ridiculous. For $10, you got, like I got a blackened fish sandwich for $12 it was bigger than Phil's head.
Pretty much.
The amount of food that we were getting for $10 to $12 in this restaurant was insane.
Golden Corral.
No, it was called Flanagan's.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, there are exceptions.
Like they were sports bars type of places,
right.
Where you're getting wings and, this guy, one guy next to me ordered something I'd never seen before called waffle nachos. And it was like waffle chips and it was, honestly, it was a mound the size of a teepee.
Right.
Can I say teepee,
and
Phil?
off the water?
Just off the water.
Yeah. No, but I found like when we went out for steaks and stuff, and It just didn't seem to be a lot cheaper than what you would pay in Canada. And then you add the exchange, and it's like, woo. Woo.
I'm assuming it could be inflation or something.
But as I said to the guys one day, I says, we paid a little more for that lunch, but here's the deal. The golf course we just played for $25 would have cost $75 in Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
You balance it. You balance.
But, the weather is, again, you hit it, too, when I never really used to think about weather that much. And then this year as I was leaving, I'm like, man, I get it. I said to Phil, I get why, Canadians... why people go there. I mean, Americans don't know any better because that's where they're from down there in Florida. They don't know the difference, but we do. And I understand why. It's close. It's because I have this fantasy that I don't want to retire to the States. I want to go someplace exotic, some fishing village in Majorca. But in actual fact, I'm probably going to end up in one of those places. I'm going to be somewhere in Florida, somewhere in Arizona, somewhere where it's not cold.
Blackened fish every day.
Blackened fish every day. I tell you, I gained some weight down there. I did. I'm 3 or 4 pounds heavier.
I don't know. I haven't checked. Personally.
I'll be honest with you. I haven't had a decent movement.
Oh, I had a few of those.
Because everything you eat there is covered in cheese.
Sure, bread, starches, that sort of thing.
Every morning there's amazing buffets.
Yeah.
I had, seriously, by the third day at the buffet, I said, okay, I can't have any more sausages. They're just there. They're like these hotel sausages. They're delicious.
Oh, there was free breakfast in the hotel?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's dangerous.
Nice breakfast, too.
That's dangerous.
Not that weird little, there's a piece of toast and an apple you have to fight with some woman from Wisconsin over. This was like real food.
Did you get to make your own waffles?
I did not.
Because that's a feature in a lot of those hotels now.
But this was like a full-on breakfast buffet. They had a guy making
omelets,
but then they had this whole thing that filled with sausages. Phil, I'm no match for that.
Are they patties or actual sausages?
It's actual little breakfast sausages.
See, we ate breakfast in, so we got a good, healthy start to each day. Although I'll tell you, I had maybe the best steak I've ever had. For those of you in the Clearwater area, there's a place there near Clearwater called the Island Way Inn, and I go there all the time. And I had a steak Saturday night, and I'll tell you, a T-bone. They call it porterhouse down there. Man, was it good? I'll tell you, it was just outstanding. There's a recommendation.
Did you have to open your cheeks?
I think it was like $31 US. Again, what you'd pay up here probably. I don't know. But in American. But it was the last night, a bit of a treat. There was a place, too, up in Tarpon Springs. It's called the Sponge Docks, and a Greek restaurant called Dimitri's, and I had an octopus on my plate. Grilled octopus.
Wow.
Oh, man. Fantastic. I don't know. Would you like that?
I don't think I could. I would like a little bit of it. I don't think I could do the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. It was like an octopus. Grilled and, with a nice...
I like
garlic sauce.
I like those grilled. I'll have it as
calamari.
But I've had grilled octopus too. But I don't think I could do the whole thing.
Better than waffle nachos.
Pardon me, sir?
Yeah, octopus is better than waffle nachos.
Yeah, I'd never seen anything like it. I just sent a note to Dan Duran. I said, "Are you ready, DD?" And he just sent me back a Santa Claus emoji. I'm guessing that's yes. Are you guys gonna be? Do you feel like you're ready to do the Dan Duran song?
Well, it's been a while.
It has been a while.
Sean.
All right. Our little Christmas drop-in is December 19th. Hopefully Dan Duran will be here singing the Dan Duran song live. Are you going to be here for the 19th Christmas drop-in, Dan?
What's that?
Are you going to be here for the December 19th Christmas drop-in a week from Thursday?
I'm going to be there, and I'm very excited about it. And the singing and everything should be fun.
Yes, it should be. Well, let's get started then. Let's get Dan Duran on. Let me see. Everyone's mics seem to be working.
Hello.
Hi there.
I'm here today.
Hello, baby. Sean's here. All right, guys. Dan, just quiet for a second. Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran. Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran.
Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran. Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran.
Yeah, we just spent, thank you. We just spent some time in our opening segment talking about the weather in Florida. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but it's actually warmer there than it is here.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we were just discussing why old, retired people don't want to be cold.
On Wednesday, I'm at Tampa Bay Downs. We thought we'd go to the racetrack, which is a lot of fun. And it was interesting. There was a lot of older people there, as there often is at the track. Very leathery. That's the one thing. Constant exposure to that climate. Your skin does look different.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, they can make a jacket out of your face, right? Like something else. There's just a different look to those people.
Well, and those are lifetime people down there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
Although, you know what? So, again, it's the yin and yang. You can have a leather face, but you're not freezing.
Yeah. And then we were at this bar once having a couple of drinks, this outdoor bar with a band, and there was a lot of women there, and we were trying to place their ages. Now, this sounds awful, but they had bodies. You'd look at the bodies, and you'd say maybe late 40s, 50s, and then you'd look at the face, and you'd say maybe 60 or 70. Again, for the same reason.
Yeah.
You're exposed to that all the time.
I wonder if they were looking over at you guys going, I wonder how old those reptiles are. How old are those gooey dudes?
Well, it's felt, not leather, so...
Yeah, exactly, right? Oh, look at those guys. They're from up north. Look.
That's right.
Look at the one. He's same shape as a beach. Oh, he's a beach ball. Look.
Look at those boys.
It's a bit latex.
Dan Duran, that's what you should do. You should go down there to Florida, just find a little place in the beach and just, you know, service old people. You know?
Sir.
Old gals, you know, be like a gigolo from the old days.
Dan, you could just lay naked. You could lay naked on the beach. People walk by you and whale watch. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, hang on. Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
Well, how have you been? We haven't
You know,
talked
I've
to you.
been you know, we've had a snowy week. You missed a nice week of snow and all that. A few snow days around here. My son missed school a couple of days this week because of that.
Now, what about the forecast for the next couple of weeks? We're all excited about the Christmas season. I guess that officially starts now, or has it started? I don't know when it starts. Doesn't even matter.
We're going to do some
it's
bouncing around.
Yeah, well, whatever. So are we going to have, what's the weather for the next little while, Christmas season, etc.?
Well, right now we're looking at a day of rain. It's going to be warm, and then it's going to get real cold. So like today and tomorrow in the Toronto area, you're looking at, somewhere around 8 degrees today. And then overnight, there was an abnormal temperature trend overnight as things warmed up overnight. And, and that was kind of odd. I went out just to check my downspouts and stuff because of the roof and things, you know, leaking and all that.
When's all that? When is...
You walk right into the downspout.
Downspouts, Dan? You check your downspout. Did you really?
And your roof.
Did you have to unroll it?
I walked right
into a
that.
downspout
Yeah, so,
joke.
yeah. So there was that, but yeah, because of the rain, it's coming. We're going to get about somewhere between 5 and 7 or 8 millimeters of rain today.
When you say it's going to get back to cold, is it going to be like snowing -20 cold, or just a couple under 0?
A couple under 0.
All right.
So like 1 -4 on Wednesday is what Environment Canada is predicting, and other people are saying similar temperature points, just a little bit colder, maybe -3 on Wednesday, Thursday in that area there, and then bouncing back up above 0 on Friday and Saturday. You might get a little bit of rain on Saturday and Sunday as well.
Good, because I've got my brother coming in from Calgary.
Oh, really?
Big Dave's coming in with his girlfriend. And I like it to be warm when people from out west visit here in the winter because I just like to rub their noses in. It's like, yeah, this is what it's like here all the time. Are you kidding me?
Are they staying on site?
Yes, I think so.
Good. So I like to see Dave every so often. Be nice.
Yeah.
When's Dave coming in?
just looking at your face. I like to see Dave. What's that, Dan?
When's Dave arriving?
That's a great question. I think Thursday.
When he gets here.
Yeah, he'll be here Thursday, Big Dave. I think he's going to hang in. I'm going to try and get him on the Swing Thoughts podcast. I'm recording a new one on Friday. He's coming to see me. Him and his new lady are coming to see me do stand-up. Friday night I'll be at Yuck Yucks. Oh, yes, it's a whole thing.
When's he leaving?
Saturday.
Oh, I'm not going to see him then. Oh, well, that's too bad. Maybe next time.
Okay.
Give him my best.
I will.
All right. Thank you.
Dan,
Yes.
what about you, Dan? Are we looking for a white Christmas in your long-range models?
The long-range models, well, it's a little bit further. It's tough
Too
to
far
say
for you right now?
Probably. I don't think it's going to get too. It's going to be hovering around 0 all the way close to Christmas. 0 to +2 is what the long-ranger forecasts are saying.
All right.
So yeah, I'm probably getting enough snow to hold on, at least outside of Toronto. Toronto might be a little bit more in the melty world.
You know,
in the melty world, Fred.
Yeah, the melty. I looked at the 14-day yesterday. I thought, not bad. That's all you can ask for this time of year.
Yeah.
There wasn't any -12s and 13s and all that. Save that for Feb.
Yeah, it looks like all the way to Monday the 23rd, we're looking at 2 above Celsius. So
What
that's
more do you
fine.
want, this time of year?
This is exactly what I want.
Yeah, really. Because
Yeah.
it could be so much worse.
Oh, don't we know it?
And snow, do you care?
That's right.
Do you care if there's snow at Christmas now? I don't.
Yes, I do.
I don't.
Because this Jewish boy from the prairies needs a white Christmas, Fred.
It's another funny thing about being down in Florida when you see Christmas decorations. It's like, why bother?
Right.
Because everybody doesn't go crazy. You see the odd house with like a Santa Claus on the,
No, I know.
on the big blades of Bermuda grass, and it's like, well, yeah, why bother? Pretend,
I was Dan. I was in the town of Burlington, Ontario, on Friday evening, and along the lake shore, the town of Burlington, around I guess Brant Street and the lake down there. I don't know if you know the area, but they've
Yeah,
got
I
like
do.
pardon me.
They have a fantastic display every year along that lake shore there, right? In that strip. It's beautiful.
So you know about it.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's
I know
amazing. Your kids, your grandkids would love it, Freddie. It's just this, it's a huge display of lights and all different shapes of Christmas things. But it's weird. They've got like Santa Claus, like a full-on lights of Santa Claus. They've got a few other things, Dan. But what made me laugh is they've got like Santa Claus next to a stagecoach. That.
Oh, really?
And then the Eiffel Tower.
That's
what
Christmas.
I sit on stage. I'm like, that is the most effed up Christmas display. Where is the stagecoach in the Santa Claus story?
Santa the Kid.
And I don't recall the nativity scene involving the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic. And if you need to be put into the holiday spirit, Hamilton folks, just head a little east over to Burlington. They would appreciate your dropping in.
One of my neighbors has a full collection of the blow-up
dolls?
Christmas. Yeah, the ones that. Yes, the blow-up dolls.
Old blow-up dolls from the 70s.
Yeah.
Don't
So
tell us you
blow-
had a threesome Saturday night.
Your wiener, and a blow-up doll. I'm sorry, Dan. Please continue.
It's very festive when it's lit up at night, and they're sort of waving in the wind. Those inflated, they've got fans in them that inflate the whole thing. But if you drive by during the day, they only have them on at night, so it looks like it's just a bizarre scene because all of these things they're dead.
They're flaccid.
They're flaccid.
I know,
they're
falling over.
flaccid.
Like 12 or 13 of these things are just like.
When they're not blown up, they look. It looks like messy. Like
Yeah.
looks like there's debris on your lawn.
You
I know.
deflated them.
Good observation. One thing I noticed, you want to talk about Burlington quickly yesterday, coming in on the plane, it was fascinating to see. Probably, I don't know how many miles along the shore of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, absolutely no snow. And then there's like a dividing line, and then you see the snow. I guess the lake effect melted it beforehand. It's fascinating, this Earth, this planet.
Very good observation.
No, it was cool.
Another very good one. Yeah.
Very good. Dan Duran Weather is brought to you by Dan Duran. For all your Dan Duran needs, go to Dan Duran at danduran.com. All right, Dan, look forward to speaking with you on the radio tomorrow, and maybe we'll catch up later on a personal note or two. All right, Dan?
That sounds good.
All right, everyone. It's Humble and Fred Radio. What a pleasure to be along with you on this Monday. We're happy to be back, and hopefully some entertainment coming your way. An old broadcast friend of ours is finding himself once again, like a lot of broadcasters, in the world of podcasting. We're going to talk to Larry Fedoruk a little bit later on this program. In the meantime, hang around. It's Humble and Fred Radio on Funny 820.
sounds funny, but I just can't stand the pain. Girl, I'm leaving you tomorrow. Seems to me, girl, you know I've done all I can. You see, I begged, stole, and I borrowed. Yeah. Ooh, that's why I'm easy. I'm easy like Sunday morning. That's why I'm easy. I'm easy like Sunday morning. Why in the world would anybody put chains on me? Yeah. I've paid my dues to make it. Everybody wants me to be what they want me to be. I'm not happy when I try to fake it. No. Ooh, that's why I'm easy. I'm easy like Sunday morning. That's why I'm easy. I'm easy like Sunday morning. I wanna be high, so high. I wanna be free to know the things I do are right. I wanna be free, just me, oh man. That's why I'm easy. I'm easy like Sunday morning. Yeah. That's why I'm easy. I'm easy like Sunday morning. Whoa. 'Cause I'm easy, woo, easy like Sunday morning, yeah. 'Cause I'm easy, easy like Sunday morning.
I just can't stand the way I feel. I just can't wait until tomorrow comes.
And we're back. Great to be with you. Hope everyone's well. There's somebody at the door. There's the dog barking. That's a hallmark of the Humble and Fred show. I think we should just let that person in. Yeah. I'm betting that's Larry Fedora. He seems like the type that'd be here on time. What time was Larry scheduled? Did you see?
8?
Larry's scheduled for 8. He can come whenever he wants. He's Larry Fedoruk, for God's sake. That man doesn't need... Larry Fedoruk shows up. That's all you need to know about him. Where are you? Huh? Larry Fedoruk is here. Go get Larry's coffee. Get him a sip. Enjoy. Look at you. Yeah, I got to do this show here. There's Larry. Look at you. Huh? Yeah. Well, we got you scheduled for a half an hour, but we'll make a... Why don't you sit down over there? No, just... We got some stuff to do. Yes, I've established that. This program is brought to you, Fred, by CDN Technologies. If you have a second, you can check out cdntechnologies.com. Is she coming in tomorrow, I think?
Yes.
Now, is Barb Paluskowicz going to be doing the Phil and Barb podcast?
Oh, she might fit in one, but I still haven't seen
I
the
think she's
appointment
coming
yet.
in to guest tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to find out all kind of things about IT security.
Hey, if you're searching for an IT company because you're dealing with ongoing IT issues, CDN Technologies, these are the people for you. CDNTechnologies.com, how to get a hold of them. If your current IT team is spending, say, 10 hours on a 1-hour job, CDN Technologies, they are the people for you. What about being hacked? Data breach. Is that on your mind constantly? CDNTechnologies.com. That's where to go to get help with that. CDNTechnologies.com.
Yes, brother. Yes, my brother. What am I looking for here? Oh, here we go. You know, more and more people, almost every day, we hear from people that are using the leaders in data technology, Phil. Mm-hmm. Who am I talking about?
GigSky.
GigSky.
Yeah.
GigSky eSIM now available on the new Google Pixel 4 devices, as well as the Pixel 3 and 3A. The same regional plan and world plans available on the eSIM-enabled iPhones, available on the new Google eSIM phones. All you got to do is download the latest version of the GigSky app onto your phone, create an account, purchase a data plan, and all of it will be downloaded. You're good to go with the GigSky service. You can also GigSky also provides data service on the iPads and Windows eSIM-enabled devices. You can always get the physical SIM. You can always get the hotspot. Go check it out at humbleandfredradio.com or gigsky.com. We'll get to Larry Fedoruk scheduled for a little bit from now. Once Mr. Fedoruk is settled and he has do you have a coffee? Is anyone getting you coffee? Yeah. Okay, that's working. We'll take a couple minutes on a couple other subjects. While we were gone, we missed out on the NATO meetings where the other leaders talked about Mr. Trump. Mm. They were talking behind his back. And I don't really watch a lot of Saturday Night Live, but you know, once in a while someone will send a clip, and I'm like, oh, that was pretty funny. It was all the cold opening. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Very, very cute. You know,
Jimmy Fallon played Truda.
Yeah,
and what's his head did a pretty good Boris Johnson.
James Corden.
Yeah,
it was a great character. It was just cute. It was funny, right?
Yeah, it was all right.
It was funny you bring up Trudeau. So Jimmy Fallon is there, and you know, I don't know if it's the Canadian self-consciousness in me, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to explain this, but I'm just tired. I'm tired of the American-Canadian impression of us. It's just so dumb. It has no bearing on reality, and that's why whenever we see it, it rings false. 'Cause, of course, Fallon's impression of Trudeau is just a guy talking like that, eh? And it's like not even quite that good. Can we come up with something else? Or can't they come up with something else for Canadians? Have they no other sense of us?
Well, what if they might reply to you? Have you got no other, sense of us other than fat and stupid? Because that's
manatees.
That's like we spent spent a portion.
True.
We probably spent the first 10 minutes of this show
saying they were fat and stupid.
Fat and stupid with cars in their lawns.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, tit for tat.
Yeah, I know. It's different, though, because we're doing it.
It's different.
Because we're doing it. Now, but anyway, that bugged me a little bit. I'm like, oh, come on. Just come up with something else other than Mounties and hosers.
I told you I was Tampa Bay Downs last week at the racetrack, and I went up to buy my ticket at the booth, And there was a guy in front of me, and I thought he was finished, and then he sort of moved to the side, and I stepped forward, and I sort of bumped him, and I went, sorry, bud. And he turns around and goes, you're from Canada, right? And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, the sorry thing.
Yeah,
He said,
yeah.
he said, that happens all the time to him in Florida. People are saying sorry for no reason, and he knows they're Canadians. And wasn't there some sorry reference in that skit at the beginning? Or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah.
So that's another thing that they,
I guess.
which is a true thing.
Yeah,
And I mean,
pretty accurate.
that's nothing to be ashamed of because we're polite, I guess.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing to be known for. You know.
No, not at all.
You know, there's some, people have been doing the whole thing, this hack bit for years, the difference between Canadians and Americans, but there's something I remembered Amanda Barker had clued me into that is one of those differences between us that isn't oft talked about. For instance, it's the shoes on, shoes off rule. For instance, in Canada, we take it for granted. You come to somebody's house,
Yes,
you take your shoes off.
that's right.
In the States, you come to somebody's house, they shoot you in the face. And then...
Then you eat like a manatee.
You like that, Larry? You didn't even know that was coming. That old bit.
They stood their ground.
They shoot you in the face, but you can leave your shoes on once you've been shot in the face.
Right.
I love that joke. Yeah, anyway, I saw I really wasn't following much about the NATO thing that Trump overheard the other leaders. Who was it? It was Boris and Johnson and Macron and
Angela Merkel.
You know who's so good? And again, I don't watch much SNL, but that woman, what's her name? Kate McKinnon.
Yes.
Everything I've ever seen her in, every movie part she's in.
Right.
She was in Yesterday. She was great.
All right.
Plays
Yes.
the manager. She's just one of those actresses who really. I know they're all speaking other people's words, but she's very good.
On that, and I agree, on that Trump thing, they were all saying, everything's late because Trump, as they said, always decides to hold like a mini news conference before every interview or news opportunity. But it's not really his fault, though, when you think about it. Because he'll get up there to talk about one thing, and all the reporters want to do is ask him about impeachment. So it sort of ends up stretching out. So that's sort of one observation I made. It's probably not entirely his fault. But then it's funny. He comes right back and says Trudeau is two-faced. He's two-faced, but, I like him. He's a good enough guy.
It's just... Yeah, and that's what started the whole, it's like high school for them all. Anyway, I wasn't really following it too much because I was concerned with... Did you have any of these things? They're called like no-see-ums, little bugs there?
No. The ones that get through the screen?
I don't know about that.
Oh, okay.
I just know a couple days when the breeze was down, which was I'll tell you one thing this trip, very unusual. It wasn't that windy, but one day I was getting a little bit of these no-see-ums or tiny bugs
Biting
me.
See, you have trouble with that.
They do.
Bugs bite you.
Bugs bite me. I'm like Bug Jesus. Even though he's early, we have lots to discuss with our friend and guest, and very excited to hopefully make an announcement about where you can hear this broadcaster. Did you ever work with him?
Larry's the first morning man that I ever worked with in Brampton.
There we go. That's
At
true.
790 Disco. He was the morning
man.
he was the morning man. I was the sportscaster. Yes.
Somehow that's not on the resume. Not
It's not.
the disco days. But I needed a job.
Let's take it back. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at this man's life. It's Larry Fedoruk time here on the Humble and Fred Show. We go back to 1980. Please welcome to our program a gentleman that has entertained people in the Hamilton Golden Horseshoe area for the last quarter century, and as fine a broadcaster and guy as you'll ever meet. Larry Fedoruk, everybody.
Thank you.
Larry.
It's great to be here. Great to see you guys again.
Have you ever
Great
done...
to see you.
What he
No.
said. Have you ever done our show?
No.
Since we've been doing this?
No.
Wow.
I've walked by your show.
Oh, here on the...
Because this
the
is
sketch-
kind of my neighborhood,
Yeah.
And like a true just starstruck listener, I'll walk by and I'll see the sign, and I'm like, I wonder if this is where they do the show.
This is where it is.
And it is. It is. It's fantastic.
So you drove to St. Catharines every day from here?
Yeah.
You never made the
from
decision to
Etobicoke.
maybe live in St. Catharines?
Every Thursday. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm insane. And then I go,
Yeah, right.
Every Thursday for 25 years.
Every around Thursday I would go, this is stupid.
25
And then
years you were there?
Almost,
Wow.
it's about 20.
Holy cow.
That's about 20. I know because the package they gave me works out to 5%. So I got a year.
Oh, okay.
So you tip your server, I think, 15.
Well, no, now if you live in the city, it starts at 18 now.
It's at least
18 is the new 10.
Yeah.
Listen, we want to talk about it all, but first of all, great to have you here. We've been doing this podcast in this incarnation for since 2011, and we'd always wanted you to come in, but again, you were working noon to 3, I think, when we.
At first,
and
I've
then,
done a lot of different hours there, but,
Okay.
and then more towards sort of the drive home, if you will.
Right.
You know.
But we had done your show.
Yes.
We came on Larry's
Yes.
show when Bell took us the first time.
Yes.
We were actually on CKTB,
Yes.
the best of Humble and Fred, some number of years ago. We came on to guest with Larry. And I said this to you then, and I'll say it now. There were very few people in Canada, in talk radio in general, that did talk radio like you did it. And I was always so enamored with your ability to do that. And because not a lot of guys can go from music radio like we all did to doing this.
Right.
Well, guys sitting alone, especially.
Yes.
You didn't take a lot of calls.
No, and it was, and I've told the story before, but my first shift there, just kind of part-time filling in, was we need a guy Christmas Eve from 4 to 6. So who's calling talk radio at Christmas Eve between 4 and 6? So I went prepared to talk for the 2 hours, and I did, and it kind of became what I did and what I like to do. And if somebody was interested to call, if they contributed, then yeah. But if it was just an argument or a fight or antagonistic, I never took to that. So
Larry, I would still say that in Canada, solo guys, other than like Morning Drive, nobody's doing that. Most people lean on the phones.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I did a lot of guests after a while as well, just on whatever the topic is. Find that person, find the expert on that topic or that study or that report. So I got to talk to a lot of interesting people as well, not just me, but I completely comfortable, as you guys are, with just let's talk and tell a story.
We have him and I have him and I, and
To
we can
lean on,
and we've been doing it so long together that it doesn't take a whole lot for me to to offer up some subject to Fred that I know he can run with, and vice versa. A lot of times we say things that are just to get the other person's reaction because we have a sense of how they'll react. But with listening to Larry's show, and I remember the first time. I know I wasn't coming out to see you, but I was listening to you driving up and down the QEW, and I thought, this guy is doing something that nobody's doing. You did a 10 or 12-minute segment, just you, beginning, middle, and end, and points and counterpoints, and it's not an easy task.
My takeaway, the first time I was in St. Catharines, I don't know if it was the time with you or before that, when I saw you walk in the room with your file folder.
Right.
And I'm thinking, boy, there's a guy that's prepared. There's a guy that's ready for a talk show.
I mean, people always say it's like you work 2-3 hours a day or 4 hours a day, whatever it is you do. And of course, that's not true. And I found that when I was starting, it was like an hour for every hour, and then it kind of became an hour and a half or more for every hour. And I enjoyed the research. The research was actually fun. I mean, you get up in the morning and you get to just kind of read everything that's interesting in the world, tap in on the zeitgeist and all that stuff, and just research it to death just to make sure you know who's where, and then notes. And
I think the sort of standard way of doing, talk radio, the outrage radio, it's just, again, we have some friends that are very, very good at it. Jim Richards is very good at it. But again, Jim does it in a different way as well. But a lot of the standard stuff is maybe you research a topic, you find a point of view, you think that will spur some conversation and maybe some conflict. Not that I'm saying that's easy, but that's sort of the standard way to do it. The way you were doing it, which is to develop an actual some thoughts, opinions that are just going to be interesting to listen to, as opposed to, I have to call, how dare you say that Christmas is whatever.
And a lot of radio talk shows, and I know a lot of the sports shows have gotten away from it too. Often, the Joe from Woodbridge doesn't really have a lot to add to the show. If you're just taking calls from all over, it's probably, you'd rather hear what's coming out of your mind than the caller's mind.
And this is just going to come off badly, so I'll just say it. But I mean, I'm not big on man on the street. It's like, I'm a man on the street. I don't want to hear from me.
That's right.
I don't like that's great. And so I'm there. I've been given this, or had this platform, and to offer up something else, to offer up a different point of view, a different opinion, a different. It's like, what does so and so think about this? Well, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna share it. And of all the responses I've had, and they've been tremendous in these last few weeks, fewer and fewer each day, but that's fine. I was expecting the diminishing.
We've been tired. We know what it's like at first.
But people say, I remember your story about.
Yes.
I remember when you were talking about and you told the story about, and that's what they remembered. They didn't remember some outrage over a political statement or something, those are interesting. But I mean, that's not what resonated.
Well, in Canada, the sensibilities are different too. And again, you're close to Buffalo. I mean, just a few miles away, that type of radio on WBN with Hannity and everything. I think generally it makes Canadians feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a change in sensibilities. Another thing.
You know the difference between Canadians and Americans?
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, you did that. You did that.
Fat.
You
Golden
just did
Corral.
that.
Shoot you in the face. Fat.
Big backs. We're pretty lucky, though. Like, when you were saying that, you get up in the morning, you get to read it, and then you actually get to go and talk about it and sort of exercise that muscle. I mean, I often think that with him and I, and you've said that. It's, you read a story on the weekend, you think, I can't wait till Monday to go in and talk about
true?
that.
Yeah.
That's right.
And a lot of people obviously can't do that.
Well, and I find myself doubly lucky because I have an outlet for it, but I also have somebody, and I'm sure you do that with me. Sometimes I'll see something, I go, I got to show this to Fred because I know he'll laugh at it in this way, and we'll have some fun with it. Back to you doing it by yourself, which is a very different, skill. It's similar when I go on stage and do stand-up now. I'm not doing the same type of stuff I'll do with Fred, but you have to create that sense on your own, and it's not for everybody. And that type of broadcasting you were doing, this is all by way of saying that we were very big fans of it and admired it greatly.
Thank you.
And, we're not blowing smoke because many times over the years we've had that conversation about you. Like, just driving around, punching around, saying, heard Larry again. And wow, that's pretty,
Well, and
that's
on
pretty
occasion I've
interesting.
got messages from the both of you about that, and it's always
I'm only
appreciated. It means a lot.
I'm laughing
Really
because
does.
we're people. I'm not sure if you know this. We have cameras in here because we're on Facebook Live and we're on something called Twitch. I don't know. I can't remember how old is your son now? He's got to be 30.
And more,
and
some,
and then some.
Yeah.
But it's a platform, a lot of gamers. But one of the people, we have these regular people that comment while we're on the air. And somebody just commented, Larry Fedoric, children at your feet. Wonder how you managed to make ends meet. Like, what is that? What does that have to do with anything? Just made me laugh. Oh, man.
What does Lady Madonna?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because it rhymes with Larry Fedoric. You've been
I
fired.
guess.
Yeah.
Larry Fedoric.
Yeah.
It's
Larry
saying
Fedoric's
leaders.
with us. We don't want to spend a whole lot of time on, the end of your time there, but a lot of people listening who aren't in radio can relate to the idea. And he and I have certainly spoke about this, our times being let go. No matter what you do for a living, it's not an easy thing to go through. I think the first question I wanted to ask you is, did you have any sense that it was on the way?
That building, and I don't know about Bell in general or Rogers in general or any big corporate media today, but that building in particular, I think you lived with that sense every day because it happens twice a year there. And I don't know whether it's not head office. It's a satellite. It's a group. It's a company that's out there.
It's a corp.
So you have a sense of it that it might happen to you. But I think, like in my case, and I think others, your ego or survival skills or whatever, cut in and go, but it won't be me, because at the top level, Bell Media corporate board meetings, my name actually comes up. Like they will go, hey, Larry, we can't touch Larry. But
well, that's what you were thinking.
Your head's like, oh, but
That's right.
It'll never be me.
Last order of business. Just before we go, let's all remember Larry's untouchable. We'll see you next year.
And of course you think that, but then also you think, well, you know what? Yeah, probably could be me. So then you live with that sense day to day, and then you kind of forget about it. And then I was supposed to have a meeting with Promo at some point, which is also upstairs in our old building there. And it's about an hour before my show, and I'm coming in and I'm getting ready, and I got my big file out, and the program director says, Larry, can you come upstairs? And I'm following him upstairs, and I'm like, oh, I'm being fired. I'm going to get, and then I think, hey, don't be Mr. Negative.
I'm Larry Fedora.
You might be going to the Promo meeting.
That's right.
This is all, and I'm like, okay, so top of the stairs, straight ahead Promo, turn left, boardroom, fired. And we get to the top, and they're like, go left. Oh, damn it. This is the day. Oh, I get it today. All right. Yeah. And then that was it. And then it's like.
And what was that conversation like?
Man.
We're sorry.
No, not really sorry. But there was. So the manager says she's got like 2 lines. She's got like, as you know, Bell Media's main concern right now is profitability. And as a result, your position has been eliminated effective immediately. Susan from HR will take you through the deal. We'd like to thank you. And she leaves the room. It's like that. It's that quickly.
Yeah, they have to.
And it's okay. And then this person I've never seen before in my life is a very nice person, HR. I've seen the movie Up in the Air. You're Anna Kendrick. I get it. Let's go. And whips me through the letter and the deal and everything. And like, and then we'll see it. And then you get offered this 3-month worth of, and it's actually good. I'm probably going to use it. It's like an employment service, a management service. They'll help you with a resume. They'll, you know. And she goes, "You want to meet with so and so? You don't have to meet her today, but if she's in the building, and I'll go, you know what? Yes, I'll do that. But this is going to sound funny, but I really need to use the washroom." They weren't sure how to handle that.
Oh, they didn't have washroom break on the agenda.
That really threw them for a loop, because now I'm loose in the building.
Uh-oh.
Right? And they're like, well, where will you go? Are you going downstairs? And I'm like, well, no, there's one up here. And she goes, well, where is it? Because she didn't know. And there's this big discussion about me taking a bathroom break for 90 seconds. So got that done, thankfully.
Okay, hold the story there. We're going to take a quick break here. That is hilarious. That's right. Wait a second. He's gone rogue.
That's right.
He's off the grid.
Well, what's he going to do in there?
Get the manager back in here.
He's going to steal the plunger.
That's right. Well, they don't know. You might lose your mind and start throwing urinal pucks at everybody.
Yes. Well, that was actually my plan.
It's Humble and Fred Radio. Our friend and guest Larry Fedoruk is with us. We'll find out what Larry's going to be doing in the future. I'm guessing you can guess. You know, this whole podcasting thing seems to be working for old grizzled veterans. It's Humble and Fred Radio live on Canada's comedy superstation around the province on several other Bell properties. You know, they seem like a fine company. We don't know.
They're terrific.
They're fantastic. It's Humble and Fred Radio. We'll be right back.
Chop it down. This one's done so right to now. bones will eat you, will throw stones. Oh, this is how it's all gone. This is how it's gonna go. Well, we're the human race. We're gonna party out in this place and then move on. Tough luck, we'll kill you all and then make a floor. Yeah, we got spines, yeah, we have bones. This is how it's always gone. This is how it's gonna go. Our soft feelings and getting hurt. All we want you to do the work. Our asses raised out these jeans. Well, we want just not what a cream. This is how it's always been, and this is how it's gonna be. So you just move on. Yes, I'm proud, so we're moving on. Better find another one, 'cause this one's done. Waiting for the magic of the sign to flow. Push, 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 pull us up. Spend some time floating out in space. Find another planet, make the same mistakes. Some minds all shadow when we come aboard. Hoping for the scientists to find another door. I got the feeling, baby. I got the feeling. You don't know what you do to me. Deep and hard, head down in misery. All right. Hey, baby. Good God. I got the feeling now. All right.
Well, he went down to dinner in his Sunday best. Excitable boy, they all said. And he popped a pot roast all over his chest. Excitable boy, they all said. Well, he's just an excitable boy. He took in the 4 a.m. show at the Clark. Excitable boy, they all said. And he bit the usherette's leg in the dark. Excitable boy, they all said.
And welcome back.
He's just an excitable
This is
boy.
Humble and Fred Radio. Our guest Larry Fedoruk, who has worked with both of us. Way back, you worked with Fred, but you and I
Yes.
worked together. We can talk about that in a second. Hi, someone keeps calling. I'm assuming that they're calling to say hi to Larry. We'll get back to the in-depth Larry Fedoruk answers for you
Thank you.
in a second. First, let's talk about our friend. You were playing golf with the retirement Sherpa. How lucky are you?
Yeah, I was playing golf with the retirement Sherpa down there in Florida the other day, and it was good. You know, not only is he a great financial advisor, so to speak, Tim Niblett, he's also a pretty good golfer.
Yeah.
Very helpful, and likes to drink a nice glass of wine after his round, which I thought, you know, that separates me and him. I'm all sweaty, guzzling a beer. He finishes a round of golf, and what's he do?
Yeah.
He has a glass
That's
of wine.
what separates you and him.
Oh,
meanwhile, meanwhile, you're coming back up here, and he's, he's figuring out a way to hang down there.
Anyway, Tim is a portfolio manager. Raymond James, a member of the Canadian Investors Protection Fund. He's back in town, and he will be here on Wednesday.
Serious.
Yes.
Nice.
He will. Tim Niblett.
We just before we left had a great conversation with this professor from the University of Washington about the latest strain print research being done into the world of medical cannabis, recreational cannabis. You know, this study that was fantastic was talking about THC as a way to combat, chronic migraines and headaches. And this is the kind of thing you'll find out when you download the Strain Print Companion app, free on Apple or Google Play. Our highest recommendation, obviously, strainprint.ca. Strainprint.ca, it is like the Fitbit of weed. Use cannabis responsibly. Strainprint.ca. I was working with Fred. It was 1989. We started the show. In 1991, I got recruited to go to a CKFM FM in Toronto. Oh, here we go. Let's see if this works. Hi, who's this?
Hello, it's
Yeah.
Scott.
It's Scott?
Scott Falconbridge. I was given this number to call.
Scott!
Oh,
It's
Scotty.
today. Hi, Scott.
You guys forgot.
Yeah, we did. That's all right. Hey, Scott, do you know Larry Fedoric? Larry Fedoric's sitting right here.
Oh, cool.
Hey, Scott.
Larry.
Hey, Scott.
Scott Falconbridge, a very fine comedian. Larry Fedoric, also a former. Did you ever actually do stand-up?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Larry did
Yeah.
stand-up. Larry, longtime broadcaster, friend of ours. You know, Scott, I had it on the schedule, and I do apologize to everybody. Scott's, what is the cause you're promoting here? Right.
You had me calling because I'm performing for the troops over the Christmas break.
Yes, I told Fred that. This is then this will be good because Larry's going to hang out during this brief interview. So Scott's a comic friend of ours, done lots of shows with me. And then Scott, I can't remember where I was that I found out that you got a chance with some other guys to perform for troops, and I just thought it might be interesting for you to explain to Canadians. You know, what does that mean? Where are our troops, and who gets to go and do that?
Yeah, so they do these. They do these all the time, but usually around Christmas time. I think this is the second time I've looked at doing it. We're going to Riga, Latvia, which they're stationed, and I guess that's part of the NATO alliance. And basically, they organize shows for wherever our troops are based. This one has Derek Seguin and myself, and we're going in for about 5 days to do a show. And they fly us out. They take pretty good care of you, and it's sort of something that's on the bucket list for most comics, an opportunity to go and do the show.
Where did you say it was?
In Latvia?
Riga, Latvia. Riga's
Okay.
the capital city, and they're in Latvia. That's where they're stationed.
Do they give you any notes in terms of restrictions in material? Are you allowed? Can you do your ukulele stuff, Scott? He does.
Okay.
Really. Scott
First
does
of all-
some of the
first of
funniest.
all-
What?
First of all, it's a ukulele.
Oh, right.
And
I'm sorry.
We've had that discussion many times, but they haven't really given us any restrictions. I'm with Derek Seguin, so I hope there aren't restrictions.
No, he's hilarious, and so are you. But it's a different show.
Yeah, Derek doesn't do restrictions, so I think I think they kind of let you, do what you have to do. There might be some things that are you're not supposed to do, but they haven't said anything to us. And I think the whole thing is they just want you to go out there and have fun and not worry about it. It's a chance for everyone to cut loose, and that's what the people that are over there want and need. So pretty much, we have not been given any restrictions so far.
And I think it's really interesting. I wanted to just get a sense, too, because I don't know if a lot of Canadians consider that we have, men and women serving all over the world. And during the holiday season, they're still stationed there. They're not coming back to family and friends. And until we had talked, Scott, I honestly had never considered, never really thought about, who goes and entertains our troops. I know Cochrane's done it, some people that musical artists, but I didn't even realize that they did that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's something that I've been kind of jealous about, because I know a few guys that have gone, and a buddy of mine, Joey Elias, based in Montreal, has done it about 8 times, and I know Pete Zedlacker's done it quite a bit. And it's definitely something that is on most people's radar in terms of, like, they'd love to go out and do it. And it just makes you feel like you're doing something for the men and women that go over there.
Yeah. Now, is it luck of the draw, or do you get to choose where you go? Because Latvia, that's a little safer than a few places you could have gone.
Yeah. You don't get to choose. Basically, you submit. I was submitted by my agent, and I was chosen from a handful of comics to go. So that's obviously a good honor to have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what they do is they set up very specific tours for very specific bases, and they set it up so that people can go out. I know people that have been programmed to go into Afghanistan and had to at the last minute the show got canceled because there was there was a certain activity, I guess, that didn't really allow them to travel as safely as they would have liked. So that's the kind of thing that can happen. It can get canceled at the last minute. I'm looking forward to going in.
When are you going, Scott? When you said you were doing 5 days? Is it pretty soon? And will you be back for your own family's Christmas?
Yeah, so it's December 18th to the 22nd, just before the Christmas time. I will be coming back for Christmas. Actually, I'm going to Cuba, so I have to make that flight.
Your passport's going to look funny. Will you be wearing camouflage at any time?
I don't know. I'd love to.
Just send me a shot of you in some camouflage, Scott. I'd like to see that.
If I can set that up, Howard, I will do that.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate you taking a second or two. I just thought it was a fascinating thing. I didn't realize comics did that, and I was happy that it was you and Derek and entertaining, people that are certainly, making more effort than most of us.
Well, you could make up for that, Howard. Why don't you volunteer for Syria?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. That's what Syria wants. Hey, can we get Glassman over here? Yeah. How quickly can we get the Prairie Jew? Let's get that Prairie Jew in a transport. What's that?
We want Glassman.
That's right. We want Glassman on that transport. Stat. Scotty, hopefully we get a chance to see each other, but if not, all the best to you. Give my best to Derek. That sounds like a fascinating trip. Thanks for taking a second or two with us, pal, okay?
Hey, no problem. And if I don't talk to you soon, have a happy holiday.
All right, man.
Thanks, Scott.
There you go.
Thanks,
Scott Falconbridge is doing more than you are. Thanks, pal. Okay,
Wow,
back
that's
to
terrific.
I
That's
know.
such a terrific thing. I'm like you. I never realized
Didn't
that
people
we had troops out there, and
Yeah.
it's really not top of mind. That
Like I knew musicians did that. Again, I knew that. I'd heard Tom Cochran and Murray and those people all seem to do that stuff, and I'm sure
Well, Don Cherry used to.
Don
go
Cherry
the
used to do it. Yeah. Can you still say Don Cherry?
No.
Are you allowed?
no.
Do you plan on getting back on the stand-up stage?
No. Well, over the years, and I did it for about 7 years. So my thing is, I was Yuck Yuck's feature comic, and I got paid a few times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so that actually I can say, yes, I was a stand-up comic.
Yeah. You're a very good joke writer.
Did regular sets at thank you, at Yuck Yucks, and it was one of the club comics. And then it was like, well, the Tonight Show's not calling. I guess I should actually have a job, and radio was just there all the time, and I enjoyed that as well. So
it's very similar to me.
That just waned.
I was a radio guy briefly before I had done stand-up for the first time, and then I wanted to do stand-up. Did it for many years part-time, and I the reason I went and did it full-time because I just wanted to see what that was like. I thought, well, I wanted to give that a shot, but I would tell you now, since I've been back doing it regularly for the last 3.5 years. I like it because I don't have to do it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy the craft of it. I was on stage 3 times this past weekend. It's just fun being my age and getting out there and kind of mixing it up with people again and seeing if I can, it's just different at this age. I don't, it's not life or death. I walk on Friday night or whatever, and if it goes well, great. If not, I've got RSPs. I can go home. I'm fine. I wanted to try out some stuff. I just enjoy it.
Right.
I got home late Saturday night from the second show. I was just kind of out there doing it for just the sheer joy of it.
Yeah. I mean, the short answer is, I've thought about it, and just never really put it together or written a new 6 minutes to try something. But I probably won't. But I loved it, and great friends from that era that I still talk to occasionally.
So just before Scott called, I was saying that I started with Fred in '89. In '91, I went to CKFM, and I was put together with Larry.
Yes.
You and I did the show. And I can't remember, it was Maureen Holloway what worked with us?
I think so.
And
part of the time.
Part of the time.
And
a kid named Andy Bianchi worked with us, also very funny.
God, Andy.
The show we did was so much funnier off the air.
Andy was at CFNY too
He
originally,
was.
right? Yeah.
I took him with me.
Oh, okay. You brought him. Okay.
I brought him with me, and the show we did off the air at that place was really funny. The show we did on the air was just like dumb.
For people who remember when it was Mix 99.9,
Yeah.
we actually flipped it.
We were the first show. In fact, I always say I was the first one to say Mix 99.9.
You were. And the
After
first
Labor
song
Day.
was
I don't know.
Changes
Oh,
by
yeah.
David Bowie, because that was, changes.
changes.
We're changing the thing. But there's actually...
What song should we choose for this?
That's it, exactly.
I know what we'll do.
Yeah.
We're making changes, so it should be changes.
So I'm going to say that you're not going to probably appreciate me saying this.
I don't
With
care.
your first shift at 99.9, you slept in.
Did I really?
You did, and we were. So this
Come
is like
on.
you did. I'm sorry.
That's awesome. I don't
I've
remember.
never
tell
known you
people
to
that-
do that.
No, I know it's pretty rare.
It was because
I never sleep.
You know, Monday, and it's Humble Howard, and he's at CKFM 99.9. It's a big new morning show. Humble Howard, and we're all there, and I think we were starting at 6, and it's like 5:30 and 5:45, and well, maybe he's one of those guys that comes in at 2 minutes to 6. You don't know. He's probably already prepared at home. And it's like, no, I don't think so. Because we had meetings, and I was getting to know you, and I was like, I don't think so. I think he's like the guy that would be here at least an hour ahead of time. And so we called you, I think, at 10 to 6, and you're like, oh, no. And in a
I was
normal...
living in the city at the time.
In a normal day, like you get up, you have coffee, shower, it takes you 45. You were there in like 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think anybody really noticed by the time we played a couple of songs at 6. But I'll never. And you were like, of all days,
Yeah.
obviously, right?
First day.
You're devastated. Your first day is just.
I
missed
don't
the
remember
alarm or
that, but
something.
that's a funny story. I do remember I remember standing in the control room doorway talking to a salesman one day. Just it was the show was almost over. I was playing a song, and I just happened to come back from getting a water or coffee, and a salesman happened to talk to me, and our boss at the time, who I won't say, literally across because he didn't want salespeople talking to the on-air people.
Was this the big boss?
Yeah, the big
Oh,
boss.
the big guy.
I tell the story. I
Yeah,
remember
when he
this well.
literally reamed this guy out
Yeah.
for having the audacity to speak to one of his on-air people, and I always felt bad for that because it was that.
And it wasn't just a sales guy. I think he was the retail sales manager. Like he was one of his managers.
Oh, yeah.
And he just took him down in front of everybody. For
No, I
something
know.
that was just a greeting in a hallway. Hey, how you doing? I'll meet you later about that thing.
Let's talk about that thing.
And it became this leave my talent alone. Yeah.
Well, no,
he
it's-
said, "Leave my
oh, yeah,
talent
yeah.
alone."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, I don't remember sleeping in, but I do remember that show, and I did it with Larry and I think Maureen and Andy for about 15 or 16 months, and then I came back to work with Fred. But I always remember, because I didn't really know you, and we kind of got to know each other. I remember having you over to our place in Hyde Park, Randy and I and you, and I remember when your son was just very, very young. You and Fred were one of the few people I knew that sort of had kids.
Right.
And your son was, in 1991, would have been, I don't know, 6, 7, something in that.
He was probably closer to 10, yeah.
You really?
Yeah.
So he's like a grown
He's a
ass
grown-up.
man.
He's a grown-up. He's with Toronto Police Services.
Is he really?
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Maybe he can work on something for for his pop.
let me ask: is he like a constable?
He's currently court services.
Oh, okay. Was he
So-
ever like a cop on the street?
No.
Like, oh, okay.
No.
Because I was like, what's that?
Still maybe, but
What's that like as a parent? Obviously, you can't answer that, but that's where I was going to go with that. I often think about that.
But
Your
it's-
kid decides to want to be a cop, and every night you're worried about where they are.
well, there is that. But then, like, they've had even cops tell them it's like, yeah, we catch these guys every couple of days, and we have to. In court services, they deal with them every day. They deal with all this low life every day, like 10
Right.
a day, and some they have to take people down and pepper spray people occasionally. And
Oh, okay.
and son tell stories. He almost threw me out the window. Like I had to radio for help.
So
'Cause
he's
this
got to
guy-
deal with that stuff too. Wow.
It's
okay.
yeah. So it's. I'm not trying to compare it to being a cop on the street or on the beat or anything like that. But there's you put on the uniform. There's danger there, and so yeah, it's disconcerting.
Does he carry a sidearm?
No.
Do you?
Yes.
Well, look where he lives.
Get a
That's right.
license to conceal.
Well, that was the
They-
thing
they-
when they were giving him his package. He went into the bathroom like, oh, what, has he got his sidearm with him today?
So, and a real quick thing about court services, they call their stick the unemployment stick, the billy club or whatever you want to call it, because you'd never use it because there's cameras everywhere, and if you've ever on camera beating a suspect with a stick, you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
So they have to know their, how to take down people and not use that stick. That's about the only weapon they have, but they're not allowed to use it per se. Yeah.
You mentioned that too. With when you're in an environment like that, every day you're dealing with, you said, low life, whatever that is.
I did, but
I know.
in some
Larry
cases
did.
there.
Larry did.
Man, Larry
But
did.
that's
not
got to
us.
be depressing too. Like,
Yeah.
what do you do to lift yourself up after a day of seeing the most challenged, let's say, of our
No,
society?
sorry, we talk about my job.
No.
Just happened, or my son.
That's right. How do you deal with the worst of humanity?
Yeah, we talk about that. I mean, I think he's developed a way to kind of separate it and move on, and but
Well, it's like those people. A couple months ago, I had a bit of a medical issue, gastric erosion. It's fine now, but I spent a couple.
Don't
days.
ask him which one, because we'll be here till 11.
Oh, is that right? Turpy, burpy. I got a lot of stuff wrong with me, but I was in the hospital for an evening, and then the next morning, and those people. It's just non-stop humans in crisis.
yes.
And it's sort of like your son's job. It's like it's people not on their best days. Every day you go to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like, well, I'm sure some pleasant, ne'er-do-wells will
Right.
stop by today. It's all people in crisis.
Let's stop down for a fart joke. Doesn't happen.
Yes, that's right. That's right. But what's the worst crisis we have? We're out of fart jokes. What are we?
This is, and I do think about that occasionally. It's just like kind of the, gee, I'm kind of lucky, I guess.
Yes.
What I get to do or what I have to think about are the people I have to face, because it's not that.
No, exactly.
And somebody's there. That's their job. That's their job to kind of take care of that every day.
No, exactly. We've often said that over the years. I mean, you take this job for granted, because most people would do this for a hobby, right? If they
Yes.
had the choice, because they're fascinated by it.
Right.
And often people say, even to me, when are you going to retire? I say, from what?
Exactly.
That's right.
Well,
Exactly. Although according to my Bell package, I'm a retiree.
Are you?
I got it. Yeah. I and people have seen this on Facebook. I got at the end of the thing, they said, by the way, you're also eligible for the Presidential Wallet Program.
Right, I saw that.
And, so
yeah.
and I'm
Explain
like,
that
so
to
I'm
us.
like, okay, say Presidential Wallet. So I'm thinking, any benefits? It sounds like some investment thing where now I get to take some of my retirement benefits, maybe reinvest them with the grow the funds, and I'm like, what is so? How is it? What? And they're like, it's a wallet. It's an embossed. Your name. It's a wallet. We've been doing it since 1931.
Wow.
Here's the form. Tick men's or women's, as my daughters asked. Where's the gender fluid option? I don't know. I'm just saying, Belle. It's
That's right. Come on,
2019.
Belle.
And it's the wallet. I get a wallet.
An actual wallet.
I will get I actually put in for it.
Why not?
Why not?
Why
Why
not
not?
get a
You know
wallet?
why? Because you can buns that thing. You can just trade it for something you could actually use.
So I'm getting a wallet.
On
And it says retiree. That's where sorry.
That's
on
fantastic.
having been in management briefly, those meetings where they call you in.
Yeah.
You're schooled on those, right? Not to
Oh.
say much, and
Right.
don't give away too much, and you don't want to give the person being fired any ammunition or recourse, so they know what they're doing.
My thought was at the end of when the general manager left and the HR person went through their thing, I went, we are really good at this. I was still saying we at the time.
Yeah.
This is the best meeting I've had. Technically speaking, like, we're so efficient. Is this the thing we're best at?
Yeah.
Purging people? Because I've been in meetings where it's just like dumb stares, nobody knows what they're doing. I'm like, this was really slick. This was put together.
That's right. We're good at firing.
Yeah, they spend time on those. believe
so-
me.
Rogers, we're great at firing meetings.
My guy just kept asking questions, right? Just pulling them. Because I knew, because they had taught me how to do these meetings, and then I'm in one, and I thought, I'm
geez.
going to screw this up. I'm just going to keep asking questions.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Right.
fun, actually.
The favorite one at the end was, are you okay to drive? And I thought that was very nice.
You should have said no.
No, I'm
Limo,
not.
please. Limo.
Can't drive home. I'm distraught, don't you see? Well, it's a drag. Larry Fedoruk, formerly of CKTB in St. Catharines. And what about the future, you're saying? What will Larry Fedoruk do? I wonder if there's a broadcast opportunity that exists now that didn't exist when we all started working back in the 1980s. And, of course, like a lot of broadcasters that have come in here, you know, we've recommended, obviously, that give the podcasting thing a shot. You're already kind of thinking that way.
I've been working on one for a year, and that sounds like a big project. And it's just only because I had a job, I would devote my Sundays to writing stories. And I thought, as the stories developed, I thought, this is a podcast. As I was reading them out loud to myself, you know, spell checking and grammar checking, I would say, this actually sounds like a story that I would be telling on a show. And then I went, podcast, bingo. And then, so that somewhere in the writing of the year, I said podcast, and then it was going to be a podcast. And now that I have time to actually devote to this, I'm going to do the podcast, and it's going to be storytelling. And it's not, you know, we'll see. I don't know if it's going to be accepted. It's not going to be the Larry Fedoruk show or anything like that, although I did tell stories, and I like to tell stories, and it'll be them. They'll be my stories, and we'll see. We'll see if it goes, and if not, I'll do something else.
Well, I can tell you
But this is the immediate project.
I can tell you that I've said this to other dear friends that have thought about podcasting. I always say the same thing. You know, you do it because you want to do it.
Yeah.
And if the audience finds you, well, good for them. But initially it should be because you have a passion for it and an outlet that's you can go on and start broadcasting immediately, then do it for that reason, and then people will find you.
And another reason, because you haven't been unemployed in 20 years, I found when I was to stay busy, you know?
Yeah.
Keep your mind going and just get up in the morning and have something to focus on.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're that type, you will, because you're a much prepared man.
I mean, I have, I guess, hobbies. I love street photography. It gets me out there, and I love doing that. And I'm going to be working on this, and I love writing, and I have other writing projects that I've always wanted to do. Where they end up, who knows? But I'll do them now, and then, you know, regroup and get them out there.
We appreciate you coming in.
This was great.
And wish you only the best of luck.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Larry Fedoruk.
I love you both.
Yeah, and where do
in
people
life and on your show?
Where do we find you at Larry Fedoruk or something?
Well, Facebook, Twitter.
Facebook and Twitter.
Those are the main ones.
And you'll do what you'll do.
And I'll do a podcast that's coming in the new year.
All right.
So there we go. Thank you.
Good to see you again. Hang around, people.
Okay.
Toronto Mike dropping in for yet another appearance and a fairly significant announcement coming up here in a second. It's Humble and Fred Radio.
The surf was easy on the day I came to stay on this quiet island in the bay. I remember.
You're walking in the woods. There's no one around and your phone is dead. Out of the corner of your eye, you spot him. He's following you, about 30 feet back. He gets down on all fours and breaks into a sprint. He's gaining on you.
Shia LaBeouf.
You're looking for your car, but you're all turned around. He's almost upon you now, and you can see there's blood on his face. My God, there's blood everywhere.
Running for your life from Shia LaBeouf. He's brandishing a knife. It's Shia LaBeouf. Lurking in the shadows. Hollywood superstar Shia LaBeouf. Living in the woods, Shia LaBeouf. Killing for sport, Shia LaBeouf. Eating all the bodies. Actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
Now it's dark, and you seem to have lost him. But you're hopelessly lost yourself. Stranded with a murderer. You creep silently through the underbrush. Aha! In the distance, a small cottage with a light on. Hope. You move stealthily toward it, but your leg! Ah! It's caught in a bear trap!
Gnawing off your leg.
Quiet.
Limping to the cottage.
Quiet.
Now you're on the doorstep. Sitting inside. Shia LaBeouf. Sharpening an axe. Shia LaBeouf. But he doesn't hear you enter. Shia LaBeouf. You're sneaking up behind him. Strangling superstar Shia LaBeouf. Fighting for your life with Shia LaBeouf. Wrestling a knife for Shia LaBeouf. have it in his kidney. Safe at last from Shia LaBeouf.
You limp into the dark woods, blood oozing from your stump leg. You've beaten Shia LaBeouf.
Wait, he isn't dead. Shy surprise, there's a gun to your head and death in his eyes, but you can do jujitsu. Body slam superstar Shia LaBeouf. Legendary fight with Shia LaBeouf. Normal Tuesday night for Shia LaBeouf. You try to swing an axe at Shia LaBeouf, but blood is draining fast from your stump leg. He's dodging every swipe. He parries to the left. You counter to the right. You catch him in the neck. You're chopping off his head now. You just decapitated Shia LaBeouf.
His head topples to the floor, expressionless. You fall to your knees and catch your breath. You're finally safe from Shia LaBeouf.
Vision. But when things fall into place, superposition. In any universe, you are my dark star. I want you to want me. Why don't we rely on chemistry? Why don't we collide the spaces that divide us? I want you to want me. Superstition aims with imprecision. But when things can't be explained, superposition. Oh, in any universe, you are my dark star. I want you to want me. Why don't we rely on?
Great to have you along, Southern Ontario. It's Humble and Fred. We're back. That's right. I know. Seems weird. Here we are on the radio still. Toronto Mike is going to join us in a few minutes' time. A couple of things just to catch up on. Daniel Colangelo says, hey guys, even when Dan Duran is in studio, please have him leave the room and Skype in to keep the same effect. Bonus points if you have him drive down to the closest Starbucks and sit outside stealing their Wi-Fi. Love the show. Love you guys. Thank you. A lot of people checking in with us, Freddie, while we were gone.
Yes, they were. Hey, fellas, love your show. I hate it when you're away, but thank you, Phil, for putting together the highlight shows on Fridays when Humble and Fred are taking holidays. I laughed so hard when hearing the story about Humble breaking golf clubs and setting off that alarm on the hot tub.
Yeah.
What story was that? I was
at that golf tournament this summer, and after the round, we went to the hotel pool, and I walked right up to the hot tub.
Yes.
And I hit what I thought was the button to start the jets.
Right.
But it was the emergency button, and it started, the alarm sounded throughout, and it took like 5 minutes to find somebody with the key to the alarm. That story.
Oh, I thought the alarm on the hot tub was the pee-pee alarm. You know, when a guy gets in there
Yeah.
and then he urinates and the alarm goes off?
Make a nice pee-pee.
Yeah.
The uric acid alarm.
Yeah, the
Uric acid
that's right.
alarm. Yeah.
Anyway, that Holly in Chilliwack, BC wrote that. There was more, but thank you for the sentiments.
Janka Holly.
I will say, though, just quickly, Holly from Chilliwack, she says, I hope the holiday break goes well. Looking forward to more podcasts. I listen to your podcast through TuneIn Radio, one of the many places you can tune in to this radio show.
You know, when I was in Florida, Saturday night, I went to bed, and I often listen to the radio as I fall asleep, and Coast to Coast was on with Richard Syrett. It was nice to hear Richard on that platform, on the big Coast to Coast, North America. Good for him.
One of the big, I don't know if you would call this a controversy, but certainly some of the conversation on social media the week that we were gone, it kind of started the week before we left. But have you heard of this movie, The Irishman, Martin Scorsese?
Yes,
Pacino?
3.5 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you watched it yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. It's 3.5 hours long, which seems to be...
you got a plan for that.
Well, right,
Yeah.
but so much talk about the movie was how long it was. And I'm like, just don't turn it off. Like, pause it. Watch it in two... That's what I did.
Yes.
I watched it in 2 parts.
I get it, yeah.
It's fine. But the amount of people that were upset over the length of it, as I found, hilarious to me.
I know, isn't that odd in this era of binge watching? So what's the difference of watching 3 episodes of Ray Donovan, right? Or turning that into 3 episodes? Wait till a compelling part about an hour in and pause it and then pick it up the next day. How is that any different than binge watching?
I know. It's exactly my point. And I couldn't believe how much stuff I saw concerning the length of a stupid movie.
Or how many times, like Game of Thrones or another show like that, you sit down on a Saturday afternoon, next thing you know, you've watched 4 of them. Well, that's 4 hours.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
And I can tell you, if you're a fan of, any of those, it really is, it's a fascinating film. Is it the greatest movie I've ever seen? No, but you'll enjoy it. Give yourself some time. I promise you'll enjoy it.
I don't have to. That's the point of
But
this.
but Pesci and De Niro and Pacino, they're all, good. There's a little bit of a weirdness around the CGI effect to make them look younger, but you get used to it.
Okay.
It's one of Joe Pesci's finest performances. He's not, it's a very understated kind of version of that character he plays in all those movies.
Right.
But so I sort of, that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about. But the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is this. Have a listen to this. Hold on, don't listen to that. Listen to this. See if you can tell who this is.
Never wanted to. What else could I do? I can't help it.
So given that we're talking about The Irishman, that'll give you some clue as to who that guy is.
Love's always been my game.
That's Joe Pesci?
Play it as I may.
He has been recording. I did some research.
Right.
I did some Googling. I love when people say, I was doing some research. You were Googling it. Just say it. You weren't researching it. You didn't go somewhere. You were sitting in your underwear. Anyway, I started reading about the movie, and this article had a link to Joe Pesci's singing career. And he records under the name of Joe Dogs, and he'll show up at, jazz clubs and sing. He's like a real guy.
At first, I thought that was a female.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
But it's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
And then as soon as you said Irishman, I thought, oh, yeah, I can hear Pesci's voice in there.
So I watched some of the, I saw a couple YouTube videos with him doing it. Like, he's like a legit jazz guy. And he's been semi-retired. This movie, The Irishman, is his first film in like 10 years. He spends most of his time doing this. And I've sampled some of it. It's really good. I mean, if you like that kind of music, but you can see that he's not like a hobbyist, like some guy that does it, once in a while. He's actually
very
into it.
Smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you'll like the movie. It's good.
I'm sure I will.
And you can handle how long it is.
Yeah, Netflix has continue watching for a reason. You could just pick
That's
up where
what
you
I
left
mean.
off.
Like,
yeah.
it's not even...
No, resume is what you're
Like,
looking
it's
for.
not... I wouldn't want to sit in a theater for that long.
No.
But at home, that's not even an issue anymore.
Very
No,
true.
exactly. All right, we talked about NATO. Apparently Celine Dion has a new boyfriend and is causing some controversy, Phil. I didn't know if you knew that.
I heard he was in his 30s or something.
Oh,
or
yes.
that might be a different boy. I don't know.
No.
No,
Yeah, he's
yeah.
not after the money, is he? No, no, not at all. He loves her.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Well, considering, her long relationship
She's gone the
began
other way.
when she was 12.
Right.
But can we acknowledge that?
That's
That
right.
her
She
learned it.
husband-
First
Yeah,
smoochie.
exactly.
Surprised this guy isn't 12.
I just saw that as some kind of How about now? I really haven't been keeping track about this, but I can only imagine that ever since the bad Babcock was taken out, that the Leafs have just done nothing but won every single game because the coach was the problem. Fred.
Well, I think they're 5-3 under the new guy. Saturday night, they surprised everyone in St. Louis. Arguably the best team in the league. Leafs won that. But more stories coming out about Babcock on the heels of all these other stories. It's funny that nowadays when something breaks, how it just mushrooms. Mm-hmm. Now the NHL is going to have a special office where they're going to apparently scrutinize coaches and those working within management of the league to make sure they're not horrible people. And that Bill Peters finally lost his job. And then Mark Crawford, another Canadian guy, accused of kicking players on the bench.
Jeez.
Can you imagine? Especially in the era he did it. If you kicked me, you know what I'd do? I don't care. I'd stand up and kick you back. But I mean, this is the type of stuff he did. And now more stories about Mike Babcock out of Detroit, what a prick he was to so many. And apparently there's a lot more coming.
Wow.
It's just the era we live in,
Mm-hmm.
And now they're going to completely sort of change the structure of how coaches are hired.
I'm sorry. Like how would they?
Well, to make sure there's nothing in their past, and haven't been unkind to people along the way, and I mean this is professional coaching.
Sure.
Where there's got to be, like anybody, there's got to be something in your past that's going to come up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? It's the new era. Everybody's got to be squeaky clean.
Well, okay. There's squeaky clean. And then there's kicking people and using
No,
the
I
N-word.
understand.
I mean,
No, I understand.
we should get we should get rid of some of those people.
No, and believe me, and that the thing is, they've got to they're going to have to end up somewhere in the middle here, because if
But listen, that's all I would need to ever know about Mike Babcock is in that story about Mitch Marner.
and Jason and the Jason Spezza
Yeah,
story.
you know what's funny?
Yeah.
That Spezza story.
It's just cruelty.
This was last Wednesday. I went out with the guys, or Tuesday we went out, and there was about 12 of us. And then on a bunch of screens were the Leafs game, and one screen was the Raptors game. But that Spezza story, that one comes up all the time.
Well, it's just cruelty.
Well, no, it's just the kind of. It's not just cruel; it's psychopathically.
Absolutely,
cruel.
yes, it is.
The Marner thing would be all I'd need to know about that guy as a coach. He shouldn't be coaching young men.
Well, I don't think he'll ever get a coach in the NHL. There's another thing now with Mike Babcock. When he was fired by the Leafs, there was immediate speculation. Oh, where's he going to end up? There's going to be some veteran team that's going to want his experience and abilities. But now I don't think anybody would touch him with a 10-foot pole. How could you? How could you justify that to your fans or the existing players?
Well, you know what people are like. A couple of years will pass by, and then there'll be an opening. They'll say, hey, this guy can get our team to the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. But
Or it'll be, we'll hire Babcock. Hey, he didn't kick anybody.
that's right. Okay, so let's go down the checklist. Did he kick anyone? No. N-word? No.
Yeah.
Is he cruel and kind of a dick to his players? Yes. Anyway, speaking of a coaching change, it is with pleasure that we welcome back to our program Toronto's leading podcast purveyor, a man that has etched out quite a place for himself in the pantheon of Toronto podcasting. He is a consultant, he's a host, and we are pleased to announce that he is also the ninth. Since 1989, he is now officially the ninth producer of the Humble and Fred Show. Mike Boone, everybody. Mike Boone.
Howard,
hold on. Let me turn the mic on. There you go. Now,
good to see you guys.
Good to see you, sir. Now, obviously, you're wondering what happened to Amanda Barker. And the fact is, Amanda is, very, very busy and has a lot of things. You want to talk about side hustles. She's got about a dozen of them, whether it's writing, performing, acting, working in the world of management training. And we were looking for a sort of a more full-time social media consultant, as well as the creation of our own podcast industry here at Humble and Fred Radio. And Mike, we've talked about this a million times. There's nobody that has helped us in terms of the back end of our production than you have, and it just seemed natural. Amanda was getting to the point where it was a little bit too much on her plate, and it was the perfect timing. And so Amanda is still going to be part of our show. Amanda will be on whenever she wants to promote whatever she needs to, and we love having her as a character with us. But as far as the day-to-day booking and social media stuff, it's over to you, sir.
Well, I've told you this, Howard and Fred, but I have great passion in my belly to see Humble and Fred be as successful as possible. I think you guys are absolute legends in this market, and I've been listening to you since '89, and I bet you there's a lot of people listening right now who have been on that train for that length of time. Of course, there's people who just discovered you on the podcast, and they're like, wow, these guys are good. So anything I can do to support you, I'm there. Bell's on.
By the way, that train is a steam engine.
Charcoal. Shoveling charcoal.
That's right. We still get our coal from Mr.
We appreciate it. Well, and again, I want to stress that this wasn't us getting rid of Amanda. Amanda was in, 2 weeks ago, was in Bahrain.
Mm-hmm.
She was in Israel. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff going on in Amanda's life. But it really came down to a lot of what we think in terms of the future of our little company has to do with, some of the things that you already are very good at doing, which is corporate podcasting, looking for clients. And it's kind of what we want to do with here. But also, I'm not sure if you've been checking in on our social media in the last, so Mike took over 8 days ago. It's insane how much more interactivity there is because Fred and I we're old guys, and Amanda's busy. We're not going to be tweeting out at 7 in the evening. Don't forget Larry Fedoruk was on the show this morning, and those kind of things are just key to help maybe start to grow the brand a little bit in our twilight years.
I guess you teased a big announcement because I'm looking over my shoulder at the Twitch feed that Sean's running here, and I see somebody's guess was that Larry Fedoruk was taking over for Fred. That was one of the big guests I saw as what the big announcement was going to be. So I feel like that guy is going to be very disappointed with this news.
Well, Larry Fedoruk is welcome to come in. And hey, by the way,
there's a thought.
Hang on a second. Well, if you would fill in from time to time, because the Fred man's going to be taking off a big chunk of the winter. We'd love to have Larry come in. And now that you can, would you do that?
Speaking of legends in this marketplace, Larry, wow. Big time.
Yeah, back to us.
Tom Rivers.
Yeah, forget Larry now. It's back to us.
Right.
Anyhow, I just think, and then we've talked about this. Amanda's cool with it. Amanda has helped us in so many ways. Amanda has been working with us for the last 5 years, and whether it's booking guests or helping me with sales or just her performance on the air, we're still going to have her in our family. It's just that we needed a bit more of a reboot. Mike's going to help change some of the the way that we approach this, and in terms of Phil is been producing a lot of our podcasts for other clients. We're going to try and step that up a little bit more, because we've got a great opportunity here with this studio and bringing people in here. It's kind of impressive, and we think that other people should use it as well.
Lots of synergies at place here. Absolutely.
Yeah. For instance, on Saturday, I dropped by Toronto Mike Listener Experience 5 at Palmas Kitchen. And Freddie had a great chat with Mike and the people on the air, Elvis, his buddy. And then afterwards, very exciting to report that Palma Pasta will be back as a Humble and Fred sponsor. Basically, as of now and through the new year, we're thrilled to have Anthony back on our show, also a sponsor of Toronto Mike's podcast.
Howard, thanks for coming. It was fantastic to have you at TMLX5. and Larry was there as well, looking over my shoulder. And Gene Velitis was on.
Gene
and,
showed up. Loose skis. Yeah.
Really? Well,
yeah.
there's a
Mike Wilner came on, and
nice.
his mentor Peter Gross was there, and they had a heart-to-heart on microphone. It was pretty fantastic. And
nice.
Perry Lefko and some others. But it was a really, really nice get-together. And again, I think the day earlier I saw Howard at my place because he was talking to Ralph Benmergui. So I've spent a lot of good time, quality time with Humble.
I got off the plane Thursday night, Friday morning at around 1 in the morning, 1:30 I get home. Friday morning I did an episode of Swing Thoughts, and then I ran over to Boone's place to be on Ralph Benmerguy's podcast. Then I'm over at TMLA and whatever.
TMLX5.
That thing. Now Boone's here.
Yeah.
That's a long way from 2 weeks ago when I was
Honestly,
like, I'm never doing this show
I
again.
said this last time I was on, and I mean it. Sometimes you have to burn something to the ground in order to rebuild it stronger than it was in the first place.
That's true.
This was burned to the ground?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Was it?
Well, remember, I was on the phone.
No,
going,
not you guys.
No,
I'm never doing this show again.
I know what you mean. Right, I'm not. Yeah, I know. I'm never doing this show again. You can do it. You can do it. It was the Mike and Fred show anyway.
All right.
Yeah, I am never doing your podcast
I'm never
again.
doing your podcast
5
again.
days later, he was down there doing
No,
my
I
podcast.
know.
When I was at Palmer's Kitchen on Saturday, I ran into some fans of both Toronto Mike and ourselves. Moose Grumpy was there.
Right.
She gave
Hello,
me a big
Moose.
hug. Hello, Moose. She's a very nice lady.
Moose Grumpy.
Moose Grumpy.
All right.
Not
Yeah,
grumpy,
she-
right?
She's not grumpy. That's the worst
Is
thing
that a
about
Twitch?
Moose.
Is that a Twitch handle?
Well, she is a fan on Twitch. She just weighed in now.
Okay, I didn't know that, but I know Moose Grumpy is her Twitter handle.
And she
I
says, as a friend of both shows, I am thrilled for everyone. Isn't
Okay,
that
yeah.
lovely?
She's great.
She
great.
is very, very
What
nice.
does Wilner do all winter? Does he get to take it? Does he get to take the winter off?
Pretty much. Yeah, he's yeah. In fact, well, except for the fact he likes to sleep in till like 11 o'clock. Like he's got
No, I know.
this sleeping in thing.
We've had that.
But we're
problem.
gonna work something out to get him here.
All right. Before we continue, how about we talk a little bit about our friends at the Chamber Plan, Chambers of Commerce, very great stuff for small businesses.
Yes, group
Yes,
insurance
group,
and employee
yes.
benefits enjoyed by 30,000 Canadian businesses. They've been around for over 40 years. Canada's #1 plan, obviously, for employee benefits. Chamberplan.ca, that is where to go and get a free quote. All sorts of wonderful products, health and dental, travel insurance. It really is the way to go if you have a small business. Collectively, this thing is strong. It's very stable. Smart thing to do for your employees and simple to get signed up. Again, chamberplan.ca.
And as I mentioned, great to have Anthony and everyone at Palma Pasta part of the program again. What can you say about the food there? It's insane how good. Like a lot of people.
What'd you eat?
You know, I didn't.
Yeah, he was in a Stan was in the car.
I had
think
to
he
go
ended.
pick up Stan north of you, and then I drove to Mike's, and then I couldn't stay too long because I had Stan in the car. But you know what I was going to say about whether it's you go to a lot of these places, they have like pre-made food, and it's not very good, but their stuff is so good. That lasagna that you give away, like that's insane.
Oh, I know. And the feedback I get, so guests get this lasagna, and they, to a T, they all get back to me and say, that is the best lasagna I've ever had. Like other than making it from scratch because of your Nona's recipe or whatever, you can't do better than Palma's.
No, it is.
So what we're
like
going to do,
homemade.
starting in the new year, we're going to have the fridge downstairs loaded up with lasagna, and whenever we have a guest like Mr. Fedoric or whomever, we'll be able to give them one of the Palma Pasta lasagnas or whatever they like. It's gonna, and here's the challenge, though. What if I got no food in the house? I'm like, well, I'll just tiptoe downstairs and mouth through one like Garfield the cat.
Well, isn't that convenient?
Yeah, Howard's skimming off the top,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the numbers aren't adding up. And
Top layer noodles.
Wait a second, we're down 3 lasagnas this week alone.
All of a sudden, Howard's ordering. What did we? I didn't know we were starting to give the guests Caesar salads. When did that start? All right. Well, anyway,
so
we're
okay,
thrilled.
you said I'm the 9th producer in the history of this illustrious
Yes,
show.
That's right.
Can you name the first 8?
I can. Greg Williams was a kid that started. He was operating. Was he operating for you before I came along?
Yeah, for me and Steve Anthony. But he thought we were stupid.
Oh yeah, hated us.
Yeah.
A lot of people did.
True.
I've never heard of Greg Williams.
So he was the first one. Yeah, he just thought the whole show was ridiculous and wouldn't last. So it was Greg Williams, and then followed closely by Dan Duran.
Yes.
After Dan Duran was Jason Barr.
Right.
After Jason Barr was shawarma.
Okay.
After shawarma
Bob.
was Bingo Bob.
Yeah.
After Bingo Bob was Jason Kinder. After Jason,
Okay, because you're right. I just realized Andy never did this
Andy
show.
never
He
did
just
this show.
You and Colleen.
He just
Okay.
did me and Colleen. So Jason Kinder, Eileen, Amanda Barker, and number 9, Toronto Mike Boone.
I can't speak to Greg, who I've never met, but everyone else on that list, I have. Where is he now? If anyone could tell us where Greg Williams is now, I'd like to know where he is. He's like CEO making 7 figures or something.
Yeah.
But everyone else, fantastic people. What an honor to be on that list. Fantastic.
Well,
Honestly.
we're honored to have you, and like a lot of the other producers, you know, they all seem to go on to do bigger and better things, and we stay sort of mired.
And you're
somewhere.
already there.
Yeah, exactly. We're picking up Boone as he's in the ascension. Well, listen, all the best to everyone. Thanks to Larry Fedoric. As soon as Larry's podcast goes up, we'll be happy to promote that. Toronto Mike Boone, of course. How many podcasts do you produce a week?
Oh, there's lots going on. Hebsy on sports, Gallagher and Gross Save the World. I believe Ralph Benmergie's unreleased podcast coming soon is called I Am Not Your Rabbi. That's coming soon. A whole bunch of corporate stuff, and now I'm happy to be a part of the Humble and Fred family. So I'm building something here.
Was I the first guest on Ralph's podcast?
No, you were number 2. Michael Corrin.
Oh yeah.
Then you, and then today we're doing 3 episodes. Lori Brown and some others are coming by. So, but he hasn't launched that yet, so don't look for it yet.
I wonder if Corin. We've tried a couple of times to get Corin to come in here, but
He lives in the High Park area. Like I've yet to meet the man, but because we actually did that by Skype.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we can get Michael Corrin on Humble and Fred. Let me work on that.
We'll see.
Well, he'd be an interesting conversation because he's switched sides a few times. He's Jewish. I guess he was born in the Jewish
He was
faith.
born Jewish, then he went
Catholic.
all Jesus.
All
Yeah.
Catholic, and then he quit Catholicism and went to
Yeah.
Anglican. So he's got he's switched lanes a few times. So he'd be an interesting conversation.
I'll tell you what we'll do. Why don't we just take a second here, say goodbye to everybody. We'll do a podcast extra. Sergeant Sean's got some cool stuff. We'll get Larry back on the microphone. You hang here, and we'll see everyone tomorrow.
This episode of Humble and Fred Radio is brought to you by FYI Music News, The Retirement Sherpa, Gig Sky, The Chambers Plan, Strain Print, Freedom Construction, Ringside MD, Clear Air Solutions, CDN Technologies, and 5 Hour Energy. We broadcast to the world from the worldwide headquarters of the Humble and Fred Show. More on that tomorrow, and online at humbleandfredradio.com.
Most of all, someone said true love was dead, and I'm bound to fall for you. Oh, what can I do? Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, that part's over. So you know what happens is we do this 2 hours live and radio, and then we do this part. Sometimes we do this part. I don't know, for 15 or 20 minutes.
Sure, okay.
We'll just keep talking until. And then what Phil does sometimes with this part is he'll take that because it's not been heard on the radio yet, and we'll just package that for our best ofs. So and
okay.
not necessarily, but just it can
it can happen if it's compelling.
Can you just put that a little closer here?
Larry, could you please be compelling? It's important
Can
to
I
us.
just repeat what I
Boone's
said
producing
earlier?
now. Larry,
Repeat what I said earlier?
compelling.
Could you give us a 12-minute segment here, please?
Okay.
Sean is this kid here has been great. Sean, what microphone are you going to use there, bud? Number 5. Sean's one of our buds. He produces the Twitch thing, and he's very popular with all the Twitch people. And
hello.
He's also a fine broadcaster in the. He'd like to. Did you hear his gig in? Is it Timmins? Did that fall through?
Yeah, that one didn't work out for
Oh,
me.
I didn't hear that. What happened?
I was second in line, so I almost got it. I was close.
The old second in line.
Yeah,
routine.
the old second
Well,
in line one. Got
we're
that a
sorry.
few times, but I'm good at that.
He's got a pretty good little demo. He's very very.
How
good.
many people were second in line?
Just me. Hopefully.
I know.
Well, anyway, we're sorry that we're sorry you're still here.
Well,
I told you when I was still working in Peterborough, the program director at the Fan came up, and I went through the process, and I sat around the big boardroom table with all the guys and everything, and then I got that call. It was a lovely, lovely call. Then I almost had the job. I was the second guy.
Who got the job? Who was one?
Don Collins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What a small
for the
world.
job at the fan.
Yeah, as PD. Well, I was PD in Peterborough. Yeah, but I don't think I was. They just told me that. I was probably
Because they
way
told
down
me
the
I was
list.
second in line for that job.
Yeah.
So.
I've only actually applied once in my entire life for a job, and then everything else was, let's get him. No, I'm not saying that about me.
I
I'm
know,
just
I'm-
like,
No, I'm
I
the same
think
way.
I
I've
had to
nev-
apply for a second job a couple of years ago, and I didn't know how to do it because I've never done it.
I applied for my first job, and I haven't applied for a job since.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, I've gone to auditions for on camera and voiceover gigs. Do you have to leave?
No,
Oh,
when you
'cause you're
were,
doing this.
yeah, because I was going to say.
You're like, you want me to wrap up
when
now?
you were,
Is that what
no,
you're going to be doing here?
please.
now.
I should
know,
tell
all of a
you.
sudden it's like, am I supposed to wrap up?
I have nothing to do with
The
the
fuck is
content.
going
everybody. When you went to Easy Rock, did they say we want you, or did you
Yes.
apply for that? Okay.
And what happened is when I was under contract, I guess at the time it was Standard, and then it was bought by Estrell. In fact, that happened while we had been fired. So I got fired. I had 27 months left on the contract. And with a couple months left on that contract, Pat Holliday came to me and said, hey, would you like to go to Easy Rock? I had no other choice. It was the only gig on the horizon.
Right.
And, but I was recruited for that job, Mike. I'm answering your question.
Yeah. So you only applied once, like Larry, which is amazing.
Larry, when I was let go from the mix, they offered that what you described as, what was it?
It's counseling or
counseling. I
did
did it. It was a great thing to do.
I think
it really was.
And the cool thing about this one is, listen to me speaking positively about my former company, but it starts when you start it. So I can go climb Everest and come back in a year and start it, and it's 3 free months when I start day one.
It's career counseling of some kind.
Which I've never really had.
Neither have I.
For the very reason that you said, I've never really applied for a job or had to
You
apply.
kind of know who, and people know you, and they they know what your skill set, and then they hire you based on that, and then I don't know.
Although, you know what happened to me? I did they did a profile, and it came out and said you should be in management. Seriously, I don't know if they tell that to everybody. Maybe they do. You should be in management. So I became a manager.
You became a management.
I became a management.
You're good in management.
And that lasted 2.5 years, and I was fired. So
that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put, hi, do you have management jobs for me? I like management.
Yeah.
I was at CFTR. I was promotions manager and creative director for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, maybe even longer, plus on air. So I was in management.
Sure.
And I had to go to management conferences, and those were always interesting. We learned leadership skills, and how to manage people, and I'm like, I guess.
Yeah.
No one we had seemed to be a natural at it. They all had that. We had
that's
to
the
learn
thing.
how to be leaders.
It's a funny.
Yeah, I know.
When we all first started in radio, and I know it's different now because they take their managers and they give them training and they become better managers and blah blah blah. But when we were first starting out, and I've said this a bunch of times, that it seems in radio, all the guys we ended up working for were not very good at the jobs we were doing. And it's like a weird thing in radio. It's like, well, if you're not very good at being on the air, why don't you be in charge of all the people? Now, I know, you can be a director or a coach, and you don't have to have been a great actor or a player, but it's like universal. All the guys I ever worked for were shitty at this job that I was doing.
Exactly what it is.
They all were.
Oh, man.
I told you, too, when I was at Peterborough, I was sent to a leadership program in Kingston, and the guy who sent me there, the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm thinking the guy who sent me here should probably be here, not me.
That's right.
Because it was like all the things I was learning, it was like, he doesn't seem to know that.
And then we'd go to these seminars, and these gurus, whoever they were, they've turned me off gurus for my life.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't stand gurus now because they're just like, who are you? Why are you? And it's like, okay, we're going to break off in groups. Okay, here's the thing. You're on a desert island, and you have a paper clip and a bamboo stick, and your goal is, and then you have to work up a project and present it, and like, oh my gosh. And we're trying to learn, I don't know what, it was teamwork and all these, and I'm like, oh my God, if you have to, and these creative seminars, it's like, if you have to teach somebody how to be creative, I don't think they're going to be very creative.
No,
it's sort of a, it's kind of a skill, it's kind of an art that some people have, and
I can see taking a creative person that's already established and showing them ways to maybe tap into things.
There was a guy, we went one time, Simon Rakoff and I and a bunch of Yuck Yucks comics went to a seminar. Some guy came, he was like a producer from Bewitched in Hollywood or something. And we thought, so we go to this seminar and we think that he's going to talk to us and go, you guys all come back to Hollywood with me because you're geniuses. Yeah. So we were going to go and we were going to, this guy. And I don't remember much about him except he was kind of old and he stood up there and he goes, I'm here to talk about the craft of comedy writing. It's an art and a craft, and I can't teach you the art. If you don't have the art, you shouldn't be here. And I'll teach you the craft. And I never forgot that. It's like, don't try and teach me the art of this. It's like you have it or you don't. And I thank you for. I'll learn my craft and I'll go from there.
When he and I were younger, and we sort of looked up to, obviously you look up to your bosses, and then once in a while a consultant would come in, and I was always a little nervous as a young announcer, like, what are they going to say, and but then we got older, and here's where we sort of stopped relating to the consultants. We sat one day at lunch with one of our consultants who was super fat, and he kept dribbling all his food on his shirt. And we're like, well, we certainly know more than he does. And then there was another guy with really long fingers and a fucking weird mustache. And we're like, well, he's an idiot. So that's when
Dirty Sanchez.
Dirty Sanchez. He was like a thin, snidely fucking
long fingernails.
And we were like, well, I guess what did you want to say?
Good news, guys. I just booked for the Christmas party. Greg Williams, headliner for the Christmas party.
Fantastic.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Biff Naked at the Christmas party. By the way, are we going to try and get Glass Tiger guy in?
Well, didn't know if I want to do it on air, but I think that he will be at the Christmas party.
That'd be cool. Alan Frew.
So that's 3 musical
Biff
guests.
Naked, Alan Frew, and our friends.
Well, we don't know if Alan's going to perform.
Well, he's got to perform.
Well, okay.
Make that a criteria.
I'll let him
Sing that song is sometimes when I love you or something.
Yeah.
Don't forget me when I'm gone.
Sometimes when I love you
is the big hit that everybody knows.
His big hit sometimes when I love you.
Did you just do the bit about forgetting the song called "Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone"? Was that the bit, or did I miss it?
Yeah.
Sean,
you can't teach that art.
Exactly. Do you have some things, Sean? You want to just quickly weigh in because I feel bad when you show up. We don't
Wait,
put
Sean,
you on.
weren't you supposed to come to TMLX 5 like you told me?
I was supposed to be there, yes.
And you
My
weren't
mom
there.
Was busy
Stop
winning
working that in.
Curling tournament, though.
Well, it's already happened.
Very assertive as a producer.
That's good.
Your parents were going to come as well. We talked about this.
My parents were going to come, but yeah, my mom was busy winning a curling tournament this weekend.
Well,
so
congrats.
yeah, she's getting pretty high up there now in the senior.
Is she going to the Olympics?
She's possibly going to the Canada Games for seniors. 55
wow,
plus.
that's exciting.
We'll see. I know, that's my mom.
We'll
Good
broadcast
curling.
live from the Canada Games.
And by the way, to answer your question on Twitch, should listeners RSVP for December 19th, you don't have to. Just show up here. We'll open the doors for listeners between 6:30, 6:45. Hang out for a couple hours, and we're going to have Palma pasta food. We have to figure that out, sir.
Yeah, I'll talk to Anthony.
Talk to Anthony about what it doesn't have to be lasagna, but it could be some little
creamy garlic chicken.
Creamy
That's what
garlic
I
chicken,
had.
very nice. Was it good?
Oh my God.
Well, I can smell it
it's
from
nice,
here.
yeah.
It was
I had it
fantastic.
last night. I apologize. Along
all right.
with the garlic toast.
And of course, as always, you can bring a non-perishable food item for Humble and Fred.
Ramen noodles, please.
Ramen noodles. That's a tradition that goes back years.
I remember when you did that.
Years ago at the Edge, we did this food drive one year, and we had a ton of. We were in the downtown studios on the street at Yonge and Shooter. We had a ton of food that people had dropped off, and then Fred and I would get hungry after the show. We started stealing the ramen noodles and taking them back up to the office and having them. We're like, homeless noodles.
Peanut butter Ritz isn't bad either. Non-perishable. It's good.
All right.
Bring.
Well, listen,
It's
Sean.
like
the
the curb when Larry David takes the flowers from the street. Right. And that's like, I didn't think anybody did that. Now I know you guys did. An equivalent.
Yes, so bring a non-perishable food item for us, or salty meat is always appreciated. Shawnee, do you have anything else? We're going to wrap things
No,
up here.
I'll save it for tomorrow. I've got some good stories. They may take a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Though, and a couple of them are videos. So maybe I'll just post some links for you guys on Facebook to check out some funny stuff today. So have a look on Facebook.
Okay, well, there you have it. Toronto Mike, now officially on board. You'll be hearing from him. Larry Fedorik's podcast imminent, and we hope to have you back in again. Like I said,
Thank you.
like I got... You know, it's funny because in February, Freddie's going to be off for the entire month, and I'm going to be off for 2 weeks. So there's 2 weeks where I'm going to be here and doing the show. It'd be great to have you just a day or two.
Yeah.
Whatever
I'd
you
love
like.
to. I'd love to.
Do you have is your deal? What's your deal? You can or cannot work, or what is it?
Yeah, no, you can work. Yeah,
you can do what you want.
Yeah.
You're fucking Larry Fedora. Okay?
Well,
you do what you want, okay? Larry Fedora. It's like, you got stuff. Look at you. All right. Thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.